Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulullah. So this is the book, inshallah, we're going to be starting with and exploring our study of the worship of Allah in Islam, known as al-Fiqh, more particularly al-Fiqh al-Ibadat. And we're going to be reading from an Algerian scholar, Shaykh Muḥammad Sukḥāl al-Majjājī, and his book called al-Muhadhdhab min al-Fiqh al-Mālikī وأدلته. So he's dealing here with obviously the fiqh, or how to worship Allah Ta'ala in the various acts according to the Maliki school, along with its proofs. That is the part about Adillatih. So the way that this kind of book will work is that he will simply list the qawl, or what does the madhab have to say about a particular act of worship and how it's performed. And then underneath, he will show you some of the adillah. And the reason for this is that sometimes with new students, there's a desire to want to ask a lot of questions, but this can actually bog down the learning process and also the teaching process. And more importantly, it lets us know that an important aspect of fiqh, particularly for the initiate, right, for the new person, is just rote memorization and allowing yourself to kind of marinate in it. I know that a lot of times there's a feeling that everybody wants to, sort of like crack the code and get everything in one go. But the way that he arranges the book, the way it's to be taught, is actually to go through what does the madhab say, and then later on circle back around and give you the proofs. And so just as kind of a preview, you can see here in the book, where he opens up with the chapter as it relates to purification, Kitab al-Tahara, and he lists out, well, why is purity important? What the conditions that are necessary for purity, and so he's letting us know that in order to perform the prayer, for it to be sound, there are two. And so it's going to deal with two major aspects of here tahara that he's going to go to in the beginning. The first is what he calls taharat al-hadath, and the second one is taharat al-khabath. So very briefly, he says, Hiya al-wudu wal-ghusl wa ma yunubu anhuma wa huwa tayammum. So the first one is that which will essentially bestow a person purity in order to be able to do various acts of worship, like prayer, right? And so those are known as al-wudu and ghusl. And then if neither of those can be performed temporarily, to do at tayammum. And then the second one that he refers to here is called as taharat al-khabath. And khabath is, he says, وَهِيَ إِزَالَةُ النَّجَاسَةِ. So it's going to deal with removing those things that make a person impure. He says, what an thawb al-musalli, so such as removing them from their clothes, wa badanihi wa makanihi, or moving them from the body, or moving from the place, alladhi yusalli fihi, of which the person is going to pray. And then finally in his book, he's going to list out, right, explaining and going to the first part that he's going to go into is going to be about water. He says, so he's going to explain about the importance of water, and that water in itself is pure. And he says, fi nafsihi, it's a pure thing in and of itself, and it is also al-mutahhir li ghayrihi. It's also something that can impart purity or purify other things. And he says, huwa al-ma al-baqi, right? It's water that is essentially unchanged, ala asli khilqatihi, in its initial state. It's kind of natural, when we think of natural water. Aw al-mutaghayyir, or water that perhaps has been altered in some way, بما لا ينفك عنه غالبا لموضعه قراره ومروره. He says كالملح أو المغرى. So then you also have water that might actually have something added to it that's been altered in some way, such as with altering its smell or altering its taste. Things like, for instance, salt, so salt water, or things that can come into water also can occur in its natural state, things like clay or something like that. So that's what we're going to look at, and that's the book, inshallah, that we're going to read from.